What's up, Urban Acolyte family? My name is Prince, and I'm an Urban Acolyte, and this is another episode of Star Wars Chat. Now, I know I said that my next video would be my Rogue One full review, but this article crossed my, I'm going to say my iPad last night when I was kind of reading up on articles and what people were posting about Rogue One as I'm kind of collecting my thoughts together to have that conversation with you all. And this particular article piqued my interest. It is by Ryan Roschke, and the title is How Rogue One May Have Hinted at the Origin of Supreme Leader Snoke. And the reason this kind of piqued my interest is because my main man, Chris Ryans from Atomic City Comics up there in Philly, we were having a conversation about this after seeing Rogue One, and I kind of joked that I said, well, at least this is going to put to rest all of those Supreme Leader Snoke being in Rogue One fan theories that are out there, specifically the one about Supreme Leader Snoke being in the Bacta tank and that Darth Sidious would be bowing before his master because Supreme Leader Snoke is actually Darth Plagueis. Of course, we know that's not the case. We know that it is Darth Vader who was in that Bacta tank. Awesome scene on Mustafar. And I don't know if it was me. I think it was Chris. So Chris, I'm going to give you the credit with this one. But I think Chris said, well, now people are going to start saying that person that was bowing before Vader is Supreme Leader Snoke. And I was thinking, no way. There's no way that people are going to take that and run with it and say that guy is Snoke. And when it comes to the internet and really bad Star Wars fan speculations, I'm not going to rule anything out. So Ryan Roschke, I don't know if this is he ran out of stuff to write or if he's serious, but he said this. So I'm going to read bits of this article to you guys before I completely take it apart. And I don't want to be known as the guy who destroys bad fan speculations when it comes to Star Wars, but we're having conversations, and this is what I want to have a conversation with you all about today. All right, so he says, the real bummer about Rogue One is that it seems to have demolished all of those theories we came up with in the past year after watching Star Wars Episode 7. Based on the way the final sequence plays out, Jyn Erso just can't be Rey's mother, nor could she turn into Captain Phasma. I mean, how does Jyn Erso grow like a foot so that she can be Captain Phasma? The Rogue One rebels likely did not become the Knights of Ren, and upon closer inspection, though, we may have to rethink that there's one small detail that may have been hinted at the last of our major speculations, and that's the identity of Supreme Leader Snoke. So you may recognize the sequence that marks Darth Vader's entry into the film. In the scene in question, Vader is submerged in what is known as a Bacta tank. Now, it's not the Bacta tank that has piqued our interest. It's the figure that bows before Vader as he exits the tank. It's highly unlikely this individual is Krennic, who meets with Vader in the next scene. After all, the person in question is hooded and clearly not dressed in Imperial garb. What's more, he refers to Vader as my lord. The most obvious explanation is that this figure is Emperor Palpatine, who becomes Darth Sidious in Episode 3. Not so sure about that one, dude. The big problem there, though, is that Vader has pledged himself to Palpatine as a Sith apprentice, so it seems strange that Palpatine would kneel before him. That's where this notion of Snoke comes in. Could this character be someone we haven't really met in the Star Wars universe? It's clear he's a servant of some kind to Darth Vader, which could explain how Snoke is so deeply embedded in the dark side. When you think even deeper, there's an even more compelling explanation. What if Darth Vader had his own Sith apprentice, one that he kept a secret? What if he had been training his successor ever since his rise to power? You have to admit, it's a pretty simple theory, and it's hard to find any major flaws. Looks like we'll have to wait until Episode 8 and hope we get some serious backstory. So this is the thing. as soon as I looked at this, I was like, no, dude, just no. But he ended it with, you have to admit, it's a pretty simple theory and it's hard to find any major flaws. Now, I'm not trying to take shots at anyone. You know, all of us are putting out our opinions when it comes to Star Wars, right? Is it clickbait? I don't know. I think it's a weak theory and it has some major flaws, right? So the first major flaw is that Pablo Hidalgo said that Snoke is not going to be in Rogue One. There won't be any direct correlations from Rogue One to Episode 8, the new saga. Now, because everything is canon, we have one continuous story. Things in the timeline can affect things later on in the timeline. It's just like when I present my full review of Rogue One, I'm going to tell you guys that there are things that I saw, different characters, costumes that I saw in Rogue One that that look very similar to something in Reys Vision. And I think there may be a connection between groups that if you blink, you'll miss in Rogue One that we're going to see moving forward. One of the things that I kept saying is that I believe Rogue One is going to introduce us to other ways of knowing the Force, other factions who follow the Force, and they did. You have the Guardians of the Will. You have this other group that's similar to the Guardians of the Will, the Wills. Basically, the people that were in the red robes, they're a different group, very similar to the Guardians of the Wills. They also worship the Force. You have a death cult on Jeddah. Basically, Jeddah is like this city where all these different Force-related religions gather and participate in their various Force-related religious practices, right? So you've got all these different monasteries scattered around Jeddah, and only Jeddah city is destroyed, which means there's totally a reason for people to go back to Jeddah. Reys Vision could possibly take place on Jeddah. We don't know how much it rains, but usually in desert places, when it rains, there's a torrential downpour, and then who knows how far in between the next rains will come, right? So it's possible that Reys Vision occurs on Jeddah at night when it happens to be raining. And that would totally make sense. As far as Snoke being this guy, no. That guy's name is Vanee, I believe is the pronunciation. When I first saw him, I was really hoping that it would be Yup Tashu, who is one of Palpatine's advisors and someone who practices the Sith religion, right? So when we think of the Sith, there are the Sith, the Dark Lords, only two there are. But apparently there are people who follow Sith teachings, who follow the Sith as a religion, just like you have the Guardians of the Wills who practice some kind of religion that the Jedi Order may have gone out of, whether it did or didn't. Apparently they're like intertwined, right? So the history of the Guardians of the Wills goes as far back, can trace its origin to the origins of the Jedi, if the Jedi didn't actually grow out of that. And I think that's completely plausible that the Jedi did. The same thing with this Sith religion, and we're just learning about this, that there are people who follow Sith teachings but aren't actually Sith and don't use the Force. And something to think about is, what if we see what Chirrut Imwe can do? What if there are also people who follow the dark side who can also do that? Which leads us to the Knights of Ren. The Knights of Ren could follow some other Force-related religion that's more affiliated to the dark side. And if the Knights of Ren represent the mystical side of the First Order, then Supreme Leader Snoke could represent the leader of them. And where I'm going with this is that Supreme Leader Snoke obviously has to be a very high-ranking, if not the leader of some cult that's more affiliated with the dark side, but not Sith, right? Because think about it, if you bring in a Jedi, a dark Jedi, I guess, and you say you're the future of Force users, someone who is of the light and of the dark. If you're a Sith, the way that they're philosophical belief goes, you want to stamp out the light, right? Your goal is to eventually, because the Bane Order of Sith says that the dark side is limited. It is limited. Yeah, limited. It is finite, right? Which means you need one person to embody the totality of the dark side, and another person, an apprentice, to crave your power. And the point of that is so it always pushes you. You never settle, because at any point your apprentice is going to see you as being weak, and they're going to rise up and take your power in order to strengthen the next line. Now, yes, the Bane Order of Sith ended with Vader and Palpatine. And yeah, that's a total reason why Snoke wouldn't be this dude, right? If this dude is a follower of the Sith teachings, then why is he off? He's got all these other apprentices. He's got a cult of people following him. Like it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And that is a major flaw in this speculation. Additionally, Vanee appears to be human, and whenever people throw out that this person is Snoke, this person is Snoke, Prince is this person Snoke, I always have to point back to the line from the Force Awakens novel when Snoke is introduced and the text says humanoid but not human. Snoke is not a human, right? This guy totally appears to be a human. That rules him out. That was the main thing when I looked at this. I'm like, that guy's human. Snoke isn't human, not Snoke, right? Let's stop looking at everything and saying, is that Snoke? Somebody asked on Twitter over the weekend, they said, has anybody ever survived an attack by the Death Star? And I jokingly responded, Snoke did, right? And at first it was just kind of in humor, but think about what I've been saying all along here. I said that I think Snoke belongs to another cult of, and when I say cult, I don't mean like, I mean cult in the academic sense, right? A group, right? A group of cult more affiliated with the dark side, but not Sith. One that we haven't seen yet. Maybe it's that death cult that's on Jeddah already. If you look in the visual dictionary, you can read more about that. We only kind of got glimpses of them in Rogue One, but like I said, there were other monasteries all over Jeddah. And maybe Snoke was there when Jeddah City got wiped out. That could account for his dislike of the Empire, his desire to rebuild a new order with an enlightened leader and not someone greedy. Because, I mean, really, if you guys keep trying to connect Snoke to the Sith, to Palpatine and Vader, you have to like really think critically. Snoke knows something about Vader, but he never, at this point, has not said anything about Palpatine. Doesn't appear to know that Palpatine is a Sith Lord. The only person that Snoke talks about is Vader. And what he says about Vader are things that Kylo Ren could have said to him, that Ben Solo could have said. My grandfather did this, my grandfather did that. And when you go back and look at that conversation that Snoke is having, if Vader hadn't have had compassion, if the father had killed the son, it's more like, and remember when you told me this, and remember this, remember that you said this, remember that Vader did this, remember that this was Vader's downfall. So I'm really of the opinion that Snoke just really isn't a big fan of the man Darth Vader. And when we start talking about, and I'm not trying to trash anybody's theories or the videos or speculations, anything like that. I'm just talking. These are just my thoughts, guys. But when we start talking about is Snoke gonna go back to Vader's castle and train Kylo Ren in episode 8? I just don't think that Snoke is a big fan of Vader. I think that seeing the Vader castle on Mustafar, that would be something that Kylo Ren is more interested in going back there, learning about his grandfather, going there to discover whatever dark secrets are there. I believe that Vader's castle is built over some kind of Sith shrine, a Sith temple, in the same way that the Jedi temple was built over an ancient Sith shrine. Palpatine had that castle constructed there for a reason, and I have a feeling that it has something to do with whatever secret Darth Plagueis uncovered. I think all of that happened by design. Honestly, my thoughts, and this is just me going off the dome, just a guess. I think that Mustafar at some point was a place where the Sith sacrificed Jedi. Just like on Korriban, or I'm sorry, Morban now is the name, in where Yoda goes in that last episode of the Clone Wars, where they said this is a place, this is a shrine where Jedi were sacrificed. I think there was a place like that on Mustafar, and that would make sense why Kanan referred to Mustafar at the end of season 1 on Star Wars Rebels as a place where Jedi go to die. Where did Anakin and Obi-Wan, they were last seen on Mustafar? That's 2 Jedi that disappeared on Mustafar, but I think that maybe Kanan was referring to something else that we haven't seen, that hasn't been introduced into the lore yet. And I think that's that Mustafar has some affiliation, some connotation with where Jedi go to die. Anakin went there, he died on Mustafar, and if Palpatine wanted Vader to be there, it's so that any remnant of the light, and Palpatine talked about this in the Tarkin novel, that there are glimpses of the light still in Vader. They never went away. His son made him fully embrace that. But I think that was one of the reasons, that was by design, that castle is there, so that Vader can literally sacrifice the remaining Jedi in him there. And like I said, I think that Mustafar may have been a place where Jedi literally went to die historically. What do you guys think about this fan speculation that Snoke is actually Vanee, the servant of Vader? And also, what are your thoughts on these new groups that we've been introduced to? There's the Guardians of the Whills, there's the Death Cult, there's the guys in the red robes on Jedha. Do you think that any of those groups will have survived as we move forward into the new saga? And do you think that they're going to have any impact on the story that we're being presented with, as far as Rey, Finn, and our new characters? Like, I totally think that you see what Donnie Yen, what Chirrut Imwe could do. If Finn does not become a Jedi, I think that a lot of people, at least that follow me, think that Finn is a child of the Force. But it would be interesting to see him not become a Jedi, but become one of these other kinds of Force users, or someone who embraces the Force as a spiritual practice, and goes on to become, this really badass warrior, which is something that John Boyega is hinting at, that we're going to see in episode 8. And in all honesty, when I get through telling you guys about how Finn should have been in The Force Awakens, he's already in that direction. So those of you, Finn is the comedic relief. Finn sucks. Sorry guys, joke's on you. I think that The Force Awakens, in the reshoots, they wanted to pull the wool over our eyes, so that when we see, because if Finn had been a total badass, it would have overshadowed Rey and what her journey is going to be in the new saga as we move forward. But that's all I have to shoot on for now. I don't want to run out of words, because I still got to come back later after I get this posted and do my Rogue One full review. So that's going to be a nice conversation that you guys have to look forward to. So if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead, click on that subscribe button, and take your first steps towards becoming an urban acolyte. Make the commitment to becoming a literal force for change, as you use your love for Star Wars to improve yourself, and the people around you, and to start to work to improve your community in 2017. Make sure you continue to support the channel, support what we're doing. Make sure to check out more videos and share those videos with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, or whatever you like to do. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. Thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the force be with you always.